Hey y'all, today is April 13th and we are doing a little mini lesson on 8-4 angle relationships. So first I want to go over some important vocabulary. So let's start right here with adjacent angles. So adjacent angles are next to each other. They have a common side and a common vertex. And a vertex is just the corner point. So I've got this image right here. So we know that this angle right here that measures 22 degrees is adjacent, it's next to this angle right here that measures 39 degrees. Okay, so those are adjacent angles. And when I say they have a common vertex, the corner point, that is this point right here where the two angles meet. And they also have a common side, which is this line right there. So they have a common vertex or corner point and a common side. Now, let's talk about vertical angles. So vertical angles are opposite each other. When two lines cross. In other words, they are across from each other. Vertical angles are always equal or equivalent or congruent. All of those words mean the same thing. So vertical angles are opposite each other when two lines cross. That means that they are across from each other. And vertical angles are always equal in measure. So if one is 60 degrees, the other one is 60 degrees, right? So let's look at this image right here. So I know that angle A right here is directly across from angle B right here. So I can see that they are directly across from each other. And what I know is whatever A is, it's equal to B. So if A was, let's just say it's 85 degrees, I know that B would also be 85 degrees. Okay, they are the same angle measure. Okay, now let's look at complementary angles. So complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. They form a right angle. Oops. They form a right angle. They do not have to be together. So let's look at our first image right here. So these two angles, we've got this first one that measures 40 degrees. And this one right here that measures 50 degrees, they are next to each other. So they're also adjacent angles. But together, 40 degrees plus 50 degrees is 90 degrees. And they form a right angle. And I can see that very clearly because I've got this square telling me that those two angles together make 90 degrees. Now, like I said, they do not have to be together. So these two angles right here, this one that measures 27 degrees and this one that measures 63 degrees, are two independent angles, but together they are complementary because 27 plus 63 equals 90. Okay? Now let's talk about supplementary angles. Supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees. Together they form a straight angle. So they'll form a straight line together. And they do not have to be adjacent. They do not have to be together. So, for example, I've got this angle that measures 60 degrees and this angle that measures 120 degrees. And I know that those are supplementary angles because 60 plus 120 equals 180. Now, I also have an example where I've got adjacent angles that are also supplementary. So we have this angle here that is 40 degrees. And this angle here, that is 140 degrees. And those are adjacent angles, but 40 plus 140 makes 180, so they are supplementary. So remember, supplementary and complementary angles can be also adjacent, but they don't have to be. Okay? So now let's work on classifying each pair of angles using all the names that apply. Okay, so number one, well, I know that angle 1 and angle 2, they share this common corner point, and they also share this common side. So I know that they are adjacent. Okay, another thing that I see is that there's this square right there telling me that together they add up to 90 degrees, so they are complementary. Okay, now number 2. So what I know about these two angles is they share that common point and they share that common side. So I know that they are adjacent, but I don't know what either of their angle measures are, and they don't make a straight line or a right angle. So I can't classify them as complementary or supplementary. All I can say is that they are adjacent. Now number 3. So number 3, we are talking about this angle right here, angle 1, and this angle right here, angle 2. And what I know about them is that they share this common corner point here, and they share this common side right there. So I know that they are adjacent. Now I can also tell pretty easily that they make this straight line right there. So because they make a straight line, I know they add up to 180 degrees. So that means that they are supplementary. Okay, let's look at number 4. So in number 4, we're talking about angle 1 right here and angle 2 right here. So what I notice is that they are directly across from each other. Angles that are directly across from each other are vertical angles. And I know that vertical angles means that they are the same angle measure, but I don't know what their angle measures are, so I can't classify them as anything else. So these are just vertical angles. Okay, now number 5, we've got 2 angles. One is 116 degrees, one is 64 degrees. I don't know what that adds up to, but I can easily figure that out. 116 plus 64, you can use your calculator or you can do this by hand. 6 plus 4 is 10, so carry my 1. 6 plus 1 is 8. And then bring down that last one. They add up to 180 degrees. So because they add up to 180 degrees, I know that these 2 angles are supplementary. Okay, now they are not adjacent because they are not next to each other. So they are independent angles that together add up to 180 degrees. They are supplementary. Now number 6, I don't know what these 2 angle measures are unless I add them together. So 23 plus 67, you can use your calculator or do this by hand. 3 plus 7 is 10, carry your 1. 6 plus 2 is 8, plus 1 makes 90. So together they add up to 90 degrees. So I now know that these 2 are complementary angles. So I cannot classify them as anything else because they are not adjacent and they are not vertical. But they are complementary. They add up to 90 degrees. Okay, let's move on to numbers 7 through 17. So for numbers 7 through 13, it says, find the missing measure. Okay, so I'm going to find the value of x in number 7. So I'm looking at this angle right here, which I know is x degrees, and this angle right here, which I know is 94 degrees. And what I notice is that these are adjacent angles, but they make that straight line right there. So I know that they equal 180 degrees. So x plus 94 equals 180. Well, that's a simple one-step equation that I can solve. To do that, I'm going to subtract 94 on both sides. So 94 cancels out, and x equals 86 degrees. And you can always use your calculator for that. X equals 86 degrees. Now number 8. So we're looking at these 2 angle measures right here. And what I notice is that together they have that box right there. That means they add up to 90 degrees. These are adjacent complementary angles. So together they add up to 90 degrees. So I could write an equation as x plus 23 equals 90. Now that's a simple one-step equation. To solve it, I need to get that x by itself. I'm going to subtract 23 on both sides. So my 23's cancel out. X is by itself. And 90 minus 23 is 67. So X equals 67 degrees. Okay. Moving on to number 9. If angle 1 and angle 2 are vertical angles, and the measure of angle 2 is 112 degrees, find the measure of angle 1. Now, key information here. They are vertical angles. What do I know about vertical angles? They are equal to each other. Okay, so I know that angle 1 equals angle 2. Okay, what else do I know? Well, it tells me here angle 2 is 112 degrees. So I can replace this right here with 112. So we know that angle 1 equals 112 degrees. And that's my answer. We had to find the measure of angle 1, and that's what we did. Angle 1 is also 112 degrees. Okay, number 10. So I've got two angles, and I know that together they add up to 90 degrees because this box tells me that together they form a right angle. So the way I'm going to set this up as an equation is the angle measure of my first angle, 20 degrees, plus x, the unknown measure for my second angle, equals 90 degrees. Again, this is a simple one-step equation that you know how to solve. To get that x by itself, you have to subtract 20 on both sides. So my 20's cancel out. X is by itself. 90 minus 20 is 70. So x equals 70 degrees. Okay, number 11. If angle A and angle B are supplementary angles and the measure of angle A is 89 degrees, find the measure of angle B. So start with important vocab. We know that angle A and angle B are supplementary angles. Well, supplementary means they add up to 180 degrees. So I could say that angle A plus angle B equals 180. Okay? Now, we also know that the measure of angle A is 89 degrees. So angle A equals 89 degrees. So where I see angle A, I'm going to replace that with 89. So we have 89 plus angle B equals 180. Now, this is an equation. Let's just pretend that that angle B was like an X. We would know how to solve it, right? I'm going to solve it the exact same way. So it's a one-step equation. I'm trying to get angle B by itself. So I'm going to subtract 89 on both sides. My 89's cancel out. Angle B is equal to 180 minus 89, which is 91 degrees. Angle B equals 91 degrees. Okay, moving on to number 12. So we've got two angles here. So we want to know the value of angle X. So this angle right here and this angle right here. Now what I know is that these are adjacent angles because they share that common vertex, that corner point, and that common side. But I also can see very clearly that together they make that straight line right there. And when they make a straight line, they form a straight angle, and straight angles are equal to 180 degrees. So I can write an equation, x plus 51 equals 180. Now that's a simple one-step equation that we can solve. To solve it, I'm going to subtract 51 on both sides. My 51's cancel out. X equals 180 minus 51, which is 129 degrees. So x equals 129 degrees. Now number 13. If measure of angle M and measure of angle N are complementary angles, and the measure of angle M is 6 degrees, find the measure of angle N. So start with our important vocab here. We know that we have two angles that are complementary. That means together they add up to 90 degrees. So angle M plus angle N equals 90 degrees, right? Now we're also told that the measure of angle M is 6 degrees. So I'm going to replace measure of angle M with 6. So we have 6 plus the angle or measure of angle N equals 90 degrees. Now we could say that that is our variable x, or we can leave it as is. We can solve it as a normal one-step equation. I know to get angle N by itself, I need to subtract 6 on both sides. My 6's cancel out, and I've got angle N equals 90 minus 6, which is 84 degrees. So the measure of angle N is 84 degrees. So now our directions changed a little bit. If we go back up to the top, it says for numbers 14 through 17, find the value of x. And if you look closely at 14 through 17, I have variable expressions in some of these, okay? So let's look at number 14. So we're concerned about this angle here that measures 114 degrees, and this angle here that measures 7x plus 23 degrees. Now what I notice is that these angles are directly across from each other. And angles that are directly across from each other are vertical angles. And I know that vertical angles are equal to each other. So I'm going to set these two expressions equal to each other. So 114 equals 7x plus 23. Now I'm going to solve this like a normal two-step equation. So the first thing I have to do to get that x by itself is undo the thing farther away from the x. That means I need to undo this positive 23 first. To undo that, I need to subtract 23 on both sides. So on the side with the x, 23 cancels out, and I can bring down 7x. Now that's equal to 114 minus 23, which if you use your calculator, you're going to get 91. Now to get that x by itself, I'm going to divide by 7 on both sides. My 7's cancel out, x is by itself. 91 divided by 7 is 13. So 13 equals x, or you could write that as x equals 13. It doesn't really matter. Okay, let's look at number 15. So in number 15, I know that this angle that measures 24 degrees plus this angle that measures 5x minus 4 degrees, all together, that's going to equal 90 degrees. And I know it equals 90 degrees because this little box tells me that together they form a right angle. They're complementary. They equal 90 degrees. So we're going to have something plus something equals 90 degrees, right? Well, I just worked my way from left to right. So my first angle that I come across is this angle right here, which is 24 degrees. So we have 24 plus, now I'm going to use my second angle, which I know is 5x minus 4 degrees. 5x minus 4 equals 90. Now, in order to solve this equation, I do have some like terms that I can combine. So I know that 24 and negative 4 I can combine. 24 minus 4 is 20. So I have 20 plus 5x equals 90. I don't have any more like terms, so this is a normal two-step equation that I can solve. So I need to undo the thing farther away from this x first. So I need to undo this 20 first. What kind of 20 is that? Well, it's a positive 20, so to undo it, I'm going to subtract 20 on both sides. So my 20s cancel out, and I can bring down 5x, and 5x is equal to 90 minus 20, which is 70. Now, to get that x by itself, I'm going to divide by 5 on both sides. So my 5's cancel out, x is by itself, 70 divided by 5 is 14. So x equals 14. Okay, let's look at our last two. So in number 16, I have two angles, and I notice that together they make this straight line right here. Oops, my straight line didn't line up very well, but that straight line right there. So I know that together they add up to 180 degrees. Hold on, I'm going to close my door, okay? Okay, so like I said, together they add up to 180 degrees. So I know I need to add these two angles together, set them equal to 180 degrees. So my first angle that I read is this one right here, which is 133 degrees. So 133 plus my second angle, which is 5x minus 8 degrees. 5x minus 8 equals 180. Now, do I have some like terms? Why, yes, I do. So 133 and negative 8 are like terms, and I can combine them. So 133 minus 8. If you put that in your calculator, you get 125. So we have 125 plus 5x equals 180. Now, I can solve this like a normal two-step equation. I'm trying to get that x by itself, right? And I need to undo the thing farther away from the x first. So I'm going to undo this 125. Well, how do I undo that? Because that's a positive 125, I'm going to subtract 125. So I'm subtracting 125 on both sides. 125 cancels out, and I bring down my 5x, and that's equal to 180 minus 125 is 55. Now to get x by itself, I'm going to divide by 5 on both sides. My 5's cancel out. X equals 55 divided by 5 is 11. Okay, last one, number 17. So we are concerned about this angle right here, which equals 5x minus 22 degrees, because see that point's right there. So I'm actually going to rewrite that, 5x minus 22 degrees. And we're also concerned about this angle right here, which we see equals 3x plus 2 degrees, because I've got that angle right there, or that arrow right there. So I'm going to write 3x plus 2. So what I notice about these two angles right away is they are directly across from each other, right? So angles that are directly across from each other are vertical angles. And I know that vertical angles are equal to each other. So I'm just going to write my equation with each expression on different sides of my equal sign. So 5x minus 22 equals 3x plus 2. Now, this is a multi-step equation that we know how to solve, but my first step is to make sure I get all my x's on the same side of my equal sign. So I'm going to take this 3x and move it to the other side. Well, what kind of 3x is that? That's a positive 3x. So in order to cancel out a positive 3x, I need to subtract 3x. So I'm subtracting 3x on both sides. Okay, on the side with the 3x, let's start with this side first. What happens to my 3x's? Well, 3x minus 3x is 0. That cancels out. And that leaves me just with a 2 on that side. Now on the other side, 5x minus 3x is 2x, positive 2x, and I bring down my negative 22. So 2x minus 22 equals 2. Now, this right here is a normal two-step equation. I'm trying to get this x by itself, and I need to undo the thing farther away from the x first. That means I need to undo that negative 22 first. Well, negative 22, to undo that, I'm going to add 22. So I'm adding 22 to both sides. My 22's cancel out, and I've got 2x equals 22 plus 2 is 24. Now to get this x by itself, we divide by 2 on both sides. So x equals 12. And that is my answer. Don't forget your homework. You were doing pages 20, numbers 3 through 11, and page 21, numbers 6 through 11. Okay? So I hope you found that video helpful.